Hey guys, welcome to Five Star Man Champions Livestream. I'm your host, Neil Kennedy. I'm really excited about you being with us, and thank you for all of our groups and all of our champions, our capable men who are leading other men in the pursuit of authentic manhood. I just received a great note from my pastor friend Tim up in Ohio. He's starting a new group tonight, and we give them a shout out. We have other groups that are starting. I was in meetings today and different pastors talking and giving me a report of what God is doing in their churches. And just, it's amazing, guys, to be honest with you. It's just amazing. I've told you about the open door of opportunity that we're having in California, and our great connection there is Mark Prado, and he's just doing a great job. And there's so many others of you that are out there that are working to resurrect authentic manhood. And there's never been a time that is as valuable and vital as it is right now. I sent out an email this week that really addressed that issue. Now, we sent that out to everyone, and it's really interesting. The response that we get sometimes when we send out something that would be considered a very strong, direct message to this culture. It's really amazing how many people will unsubscribe when I send out an email like that. And it's pretty interesting. I don't know all of the dynamics involved, but we can send out emails every day, which we do with the Daily Champion. When I send out an email that is directly confronting culture, it's unmistakably, we're going to lose a half a dozen or a dozen people that offends. And you know what? I'm okay with that, in that it's okay. If you don't resonate with authentic manhood, this is not the place for you. If you're not resonating with our message to be authentic men, then this isn't the place for you. At the same time, we have dozens that are connecting with us daily. They're saying, "Hey, I want to pursue authentic manhood. I've had enough of this anti-man culture," and so we're growing and just excited about what God is doing. I want to encourage you. Some of you have not yet received your copy of Pray Like a Son. This is a game-changing book that will help you position yourself in the sonship that you are as a child of God. You're no longer a servant. You're not God is not looking for you to do something for Him. He is looking for you and to do something for you, what He has provided to you, and He has grafted you in as a son. This book will help you understand your position to be able to pray effectively. Know that you're heard, and knowing that your Father who is in heaven will hear you and do what you ask according to His will. So make sure that you get your copy of this. I really anticipate several of you to go to the website at FivestarMan.com, go to the shop, the resources, and simply drop a donation and get this of any amount. All of our books are donation only. So drop the amount that you want to put in there, but make sure that you get this book. And not only that, get it for others. Get it for yourself, get it for others. Now, tonight I want to turn our attention to a champion's mentality. This is session number 2. We've been talking about what it means to have the mindset of a champion. Now, you have to understand that a champion thinks differently than the average person. That if you're going to actually excel, if you're going to step out of the ranks of mediocrity, then you're going to have a mindset that is different. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You're going to have a mindset that's different than the average. You can't think like everyone else and expect different results. You can't do what everyone else does and expect different results. If you're going to be a champion, you're going to have develop a mindset, a mentality of championship. Now, last time we talked about and identified the word champion. And I love this word picture, that a champion is the one who steps out of the ranks of the army and fills the space in between the opposing army and the supporting army. So the champion is the one who is willing, the man who is willing to take the step to claim that area between the armies and say, you know what, I'm staking my claim right here. That is called champion. So if you're going to have the mindset of someone who will step out and do something that no one else is willing to do, you're going to get the rewards that no one else is getting. See, David was compensated and he was rewarded for doing what everyone else was too afraid to do. Cowards don't get the rewards of champions. We'll say that again. Cowards do not get the rewards of champions. So tonight we're talking about the entrepreneurial drive that is within you. Every man has it. And having a business acumen or a mentality to succeed, but even more than that, to have significance. So the purpose of this is entrepreneurship is a deep purpose within every man that's pursuing authentic manhood. And creating sources of revenue is made possible by the creative impulse that God has given you. The purpose of an entrepreneurial hand is so that you can gather the resources so that you can fulfill the purpose of the earth. Now let's dive into this. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 11. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 1 says, "Ship your grain across the sea, and after many days you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land." Tonight's principle that I want to draw from is we are created to procreate. We are created to procreate. So the goal in your life is not success. I know that comes as contrary message that everything that you receive in this life, that everything is about success. You know, that success is the goal. The problem with success is that it's an immeasurable goal. You cannot place success as a measurable goal. If you put that on your vision board, then you're not going to be able to really define it, because you're not successful if you can't finance your purpose. So success can't be a measurable goal for you. No one else can say he is a success. If he's doing that, he's measuring or comparing your achievement to what his concept of success is. Now, this is important to get, and it's important to get down into your mentality, into your DNA, the way that you think in your heart. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So it can only be described by the possessor. In other words, so it's like, beauty is in the art of the beholder. Well, the same way with success. Let's say you have an idea in your head that $500,000 a year is successful. Well, that depends. Do you have a purpose that exceeds $500,000? If you have a $5 million purpose and you only have $500,000 a year, then it's going to take you 10 years to possibly achieve your success. But if you have a $5 million vision, but then you're able to accumulate $50 million, then it's a chip shot. See, success can only be measured by the purpose for which you have been given. So therefore, it's not really success, it's significance. Significance is measured by the impact a man's life has on others. So you're not really driven for success, you're driven for significance. The purpose of an entrepreneurial hand is so that you can gather the resources so that you can accomplish and fulfill the purpose for which you were sent. Let me show you this in Scripture. Genesis chapter 24, verse 35. Genesis 24, verse 35, using the biblical example of Abraham, who you know is called the father of our faith. And there are reasons that he's called. It's not just an honorific term. He is credited to the righteousness of believing for your salvation. It is Abraham, a man who was nomadic and believed God long past his age for you. Abraham is the one who is credited for the salvation of nations. So Genesis chapter 24, verse 35 says, "And the Lord has greatly blessed my master. He has become a wealthy man. The Lord has given him flocks of sheep and goats, of herds of cattle, of fortune of silver, gold, male servants and female servants, camels and donkeys." Now remember what Ecclesiastes says. Invest in 7 ventures. Yes, 8 ventures. So look at the audit list of Abraham's income. He had sheep and goats and cattle and silver and gold and servants and camels and donkeys. So he had 8 different streams of income. You say, wait a minute, his male and female servants, are they streams of income? Yes. For every employee that you have, you must have income, or there's no reason to have them as an employee. Every employee should be making you money. When I would hire my staff, when I was pastoring churches, and I would hire a staff member, I would talk to them and say, listen, you need to understand something. It is my faith that is getting you here, but it is your faith that will keep you here. I'll say that again. It's my faith that will get you here, but it's your faith that will keep you here. What I mean by that is I have worked my faith so that I have a year of your income, a year of your salary secured. Now, after a year of you working here, the production and the fruit of your work in your ministry should produce enough families in our church to pay your salary. Now, a lot of men won't think this way, but I think this way. So what I looked at is, okay, it takes 10 tithing families for a staff member to have the household income of our area. So whatever the household income of our area is, if I have 10 tithing families, then that is going to secure the salary of that staff member. Now, I'm not there just to break even. I have to have a surplus of that. And I'm expecting the fruit of any minister to produce more than 10 tithing families. So that's how I raised staff members. Is this making sense to you? Now, I'm just giving you an application of how it worked for me in leading a church. But you got to think this way when you're leading a business. You got to think this way when you're serving another man. See, you may be serving another man right now, and you may be complaining and griping and whining about your salary. What you must do is you must position yourself to be a procreator so well that the results of your work, of your hands, produces so much that whoever is employing you will not take a risk of you not being employed for them. I'll give you an example. When David killed Goliath, the king Saul saw that the hand of God was on David, and he asked Jesse, David's father, allow your son David to stay with me, because he knew the hand of God is on David and I need him in order to accomplish the victories that I need to accomplish. The same way with you. When I was working, I was at lunch today, and someone who I gave a job to, I was a sales manager at Bible College at a car wash. And one of the students that I, as a sales manager, gave him a job. And he told the guys at the table, he said, Neil made a fortune. Neil made all kinds of crazy amounts of money when he was leading the sales at the car wash. And I did. I made in the mid 80s. I was averaging $24 an hour on commission at the car wash. Now that was the hand of God. It is the God gives you the ability to produce. So what I want you to see is, and I want to apply this to you in just a moment. So think about this. The manager knew that actually to pull me off of the gas pumps and the sales of the car washes, and that day you had a lot of employees. Everyone there made minimum wage except those who were selling. And as a sales manager, I was able to hire 11 college students from Bible College who they had previously had a policy not to hire Bible College students because of the reputation not to work. And they took a chance on me, and I became a high producer for them. And I was able to help 11 other Bible College students get a position. And most of them I was able to get in the position of sales. Now, God's hand of favor was upon me, and I produced an average $24 an hour is what they would pay me. Now, my manager told me straight up one day, he said, Neil, you have no idea how much money you make this company. Well, I knew that we would average 300-400 cars coming through the car wash. And I also knew that I produced so much on sales that they were making a lot of money off of me on the sales. Now, here's what I want you to see. They couldn't afford me not being there. They couldn't afford me not being on the sales pumps. They couldn't afford it. For me to go dry a car was costing them hundreds of dollars. So they just made no bones about it. Work, anytime you're on the clock, you need to be selling. Why? Because no one is producing the funds that you're producing. Does that make sense to you? See, what you need to understand is Abraham was made rich, but he was made wealthy. Exceedingly great wealth came to him, not just because he had one stream of income, but yet he created 8. And here's what I hope that you'll understand. You need to think in terms of diversifying your streams of income, because you don't know what the economy is going to be in the next few years. Now, I'm not going to worry about it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the Holy Spirit, give me wisdom and insight and understanding so that I can know exactly how to create streams of income so that I have a stability. Pastor Willie George taught me this years ago when we were talking about streams of multiple streams of income, and he saw this in his efforts to have children's ministry, and so he knew that in the winter months were very slow. In order to keep his employees paid during the winter and not lay them off, he had to have some kind of production that would pay for everyone during the winter months. And so he produced a Christmas album. And so churches would buy that Christmas album, children's Christmas album, and that would get them through the months. And then and when he would travel, he would have products, t-shirts and things like that, and puppets. And then he finally realized that he could train children's pastors on how to do children's ministry. And so he created multiple streams of income because of that. There's a guy by the name of, I think his name is Scott King, who wrote a book, and he talks about multiple streams of income. He learned all of his lessons through Proverbs, and that's why I tell you to read Proverbs every day, the Daily Champion. And he said this. He's the guy who created the infomercials that were very prominent in the late night television. He's the one who created Total Gym with Chuck Norris. He's the one who did Gary Smalley and John Tesh and his wife Connie and others. He created these infomercials. What a lot of people don't know is he learned all of that through Proverbs. And it's through these lessons that I want you to see. So on his way, so Abraham, being a nomadic man, and he's on his way from leaving the comfort of his father's household to inherit the promise that God had given him. It's really interesting. Abraham amassed an incredible fortune through these multiple streams of income. He didn't even have a home or a place to call home yet. But he amassed this great wealth. So much so that his nephew Lot, and it's really interesting how Lot was always grafting off of Abraham's blessing. And just because he was related to Abraham, he got grafted. And there's going to be people that graft off you as well. As you increase, as you succeed, there's going to be people that graft off you. And you know what they're doing, but you want to bless them anyway. The same thing with Lot. Remember that Abraham and Lot, their servants, began to dispute over, because they were growing so wealthy that they began to dispute over the grazing lands. So Abraham said, it's not good for us to live in this strife. So I want you to choose where you want to be, and I will take the place that you choose not. And so Lot said, okay, well, I'm going to choose the valley. I'm going to choose the area known for Sodom, Gomorrah, and some other cities. There's actually 5 cities in that valley. And it's really interesting. It's a beautiful valley. It had to be amazing. But at the time, it was the place to be. And Lot chose it for himself. No, even though he knew he had been a grafter off Abraham, he chose the very best for himself. Instead of honoring and giving honor to Abraham, do you know everything would have changed if Abraham would have taken the valley? Do you know that Sodom and Gomorrah probably would not have resulted in judgment if Abram would have taken the valley? Because Abraham dominated he took dominion over every piece of place that he walked. And Abraham, and by the spirit of righteousness on Abraham, Sodom and Gomorrah would have had a very different outcome if Abraham would have had the valley. But Lot, rather than influencing the valley, the cities of the valley, the cities influenced Lot. See, Abraham would have been the superior, and he would have influenced Sodom, Gomorrah, and the other cities. In reverse, Lot took the valley. Rather than influencing those cities, the cities influenced him. Now listen to me carefully, because this is important for you to understand. If you truly understand the power and the authority and the favor of God on your life, it really doesn't matter where you are chosen to live. You will dominate the area. You will overcome any market. You will overcome any city. You put me in any city, I'm going to take authority over that. And the same way with you. Because the righteousness, the spirit of righteousness on you is going to overcome the sinful culture. And this is very important for us as FivestarMan to understand, that we are so blessed because when we walk into an area, we take dominion over the area. You see this played out because Lot was captured because the kings all went to war, and the king of Gomorrah, the king of Sodom, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela. All of those kings were taken, and all of the goods, all the resources. Now watch this. All of those kings and all of the warriors, everyone was taken. What does Abraham do? Abraham takes 318 of his servant men who are trained for war, and they go after the enemy, and they rescue every one of these kings and rescue Lot and rescue all of the goods. Man, this is powerful. Think about this. All of these kings and their armies was not strong enough, not influenced enough in authority to be able to defend themselves and overcome the invading kings, the dominating kings. And yet Abraham says to his household servants who have been trained for protection, if you're going to have 8 streams of income, you're going to have protection. Guys, if you're going to have 8 businesses bringing you income, you're going to have to think about and prepare yourself for security issues. Am I making sense to you? I know I'm wrapping up. I got to wrap up. I got 2 minutes. You've got to understand that the kings didn't have an army like Abraham's servants. So he went back and he got everybody. And so what's the first thing that happens? When he brings it back, the king of Salem comes out, and he comes out with the bread and the wine, and he comes out with the verbal spoken blessing, and he says, "Blessed be Abraham." And so the Prince of Peace, that's the interpretation of Melchizedek. Melchizedek is not a proper name, it's a title, and it means King of Justice, King of Peace, and it means Prince of Peace. And so the Prince of Peace, the King of Justice, the King of Peace, says to Abraham, "You're blessed." You know, that's communion. And this order was established. Even Hebrews chapter 7 points to the fact that when you tithe and when you give to the Lord today through the church, you are giving your tithe and your offering directly to the high priest, who is in the order of the King of Peace, the King of Justice, and the Prince of Peace. He is the one who is bringing the communion elements and speaking a blessing over you. Guys, man, I hope that you get this. I hope that you understand this. Jesus himself is speaking a blessing over you when you tithe, so that everything that you do, everything that you touch is blessed. And the king of Sodom offers to Abraham, you keep the goods, you keep the goods. And Abraham said, "No, you'll never be able to say you enriched me." He said, "I'm not taking anything for myself personally." And the very next thing that happens, now think about that. Abraham would not co-labor, co-connect, partner with this homosexual king. He would not tie himself to that culture. So Genesis chapter 15 verse 1 shows up and says, "Do not be afraid, Abram. I'm your shield and I'm your very great reward." I hope that you get this and understanding, because this mindset needs to be in you. You need to understand that the power of God working on your life to bless you is not accidental. It's purposeful. Not so that you can be a success and you can have your little cars, your clothes, and your cottages, but that you can be blessed to fulfill your purpose. I've run out of time. Thank you for being a part of 5-Star Man. I'll see you next time.